And welcome to another BDLL Europe special edition that almost didn't happen. How's everybody doing?
Woohoo! Great.
All right. Hey,
Hello, world.
don't forget, Rocco.
The light, Dan, that we're
There
open for
it
business.
is. Now we're open.
Now we're open for business. Yeah, so I apologize for everybody getting in late on the waiting room. I made it home just in time to get this started. So, and you know what? I didn't even put up the YouTube link for it until a few minutes ago. So there may be a lot of people that don't see it yet because you know how YouTube is. But
Yeah.
It's there for me now.
Perfect.
Okay,
I love
Rocco,
it.
you made it happen.
Made it. All right. So how's everybody doing? What have we been up to? Jill? Yeah, we haven't seen you in a month. So what have you been up to?
Oh, so I am getting ready to build a new Ryzen system, probably after the announcement for the 3070 and the AMD to see which one of those I want to buy. But I'm getting ready to down some good money. on
What are you
everything.
leaning towards?
Um, probably a 3950, unless the newer ones come sooner, and probably the AMD 6000 series with the HBM memory.
Nice. Really nice.
Nice.
All right, Big Pod, you had something going on you were trying to talk about in the pre-show. So what was it? 'Cause I
Yeah.
need to hear it.
Yeah, last week on Sunday, I was at a live production, TV level live production. We did a half marathon, and it was a really, really something of an experience. That's why I actually missed last week's regular BDLL show because I was sleeping. So I didn't wake up and be at a live production like I just woke up after sleeping 3 hours. And I actually was behind a camera, 1 out of 9 cameras we had. We were streaming we were basically doing the production for one of televisions here, one of the sport TVs, and it was a part of my school. With school we have an interest group for multimedia, and we do stuff like this. And I was one of the cameramans, even though normally I don't do that. So that was fun and a great
Awesome.
experience.
Computer Kid, you were here last week, or you weren't here last week for regular BDLL, I don't think. So what you been up to, dude?
Nothing especially Linuxy. I've been playing with Ansible for messing with servers. I wrote my first couple of playbooks, so now I can fire off a playbook and boom, my servers are updated.
I hear some
Yeah.
difference in your audio.
Oh yeah, I've been messing with, over the past few weeks, I've been messing with microphone setup. So I've got this 3D printed arm here. And now the problem with this microphone is it's cheap and it outputs at very low volume. And so the trick is you have to boost it higher than Pulse Audio wants you to. With like the Pulse Audio command line, Pavu Control won't let you go as high as it needs to. But once you boost it a little bit, it sounds really good. So happy that works.
Yep,
I
it
was
does
getting
sound
tired of
pretty
that.
good.
Giant headset. It weighs down on you after 2 hours. Who would have guessed?
I know. I know. We have Joe Lamoth in the house. I don't know why he's here. He usually has things to do.
First time, long time caller. I've been listening to the show for a few years, and I just wanted to call, trying to win some tickets, man. My caller 99.
Nope.
Ah.
Good luck next time.
Again.
Yeah, I'm at work, and everybody else is working, but I got to be here. So I was available, so I was excited. I thought, yay, I can go see all my friends. So
Yay.
I'm here.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else got anything they want to talk about before we jump into something? I don't know what we're jumping into because I didn't prepare nothing, but we'll jump into something.
One thing I'd like to mention.
Do it, Tony.
I bought a new piece of hardware.
What'd you buy?
A new keyboard. Again.
Didn't you just
I
buy a new
bought-
keyboard?
It wasn't that long ago, but it was okay. But it's a bit plasticky. I'm more a quality kind of guy when it comes to this sort of thing. So I ended up buying a Logitech MX keys, which is
I don't
virtually
know.
all aluminium.
I don't
I
know if
have
I.
that keyboard, Tony, and I love it. I just got it 3 weeks ago.
Ah,
I love it. This one, right?
yeah, that's the kitty. Yeah, it's brilliant. The keys have got a lovely feel to them. It's quiet. So if I was to leave the mic open and type, I'd be very surprised if you heard anything. But it's all aluminium construction, so it doesn't twist when you move it with your hands or
It
anything
doesn't
like
feel
that.
cheap,
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. Well, it wasn't, so it shouldn't do.
right?
But it works really well, and it's rechargeable. So you don't have to mess about with batteries. Just plug a cord in, keep using it, and it's got backlit keys as well if you want to use it. Although
That's good.
obviously that kills the battery.
But that's a must-have for me. I know that I got to have backlit keys on the
Yeah,
new keyboard.
I don't really use that, but the batteries will go 5 months if you don't use that and then recharge. So just thought I'd mention.
Yeah,
Nice.
definitely got to have the backlit keyboard. As you, well, you can't tell right now because of the sun shining in the background, but I pretty much sit in the dark most of the time. Because the
Sunshine, it's pitch black here.
well, yeah, that's
Right.
because you're in a different time zone there. But
Nice.
yeah. So I've been looking at Logitech keyboard too, and I was thinking about the G915. But the only issue with that keyboard is the price. That is a $250 keyboard. Wireless mechanical keyboard for gaming. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna be sitting here, I'm like typing on it. You know, I'm just gonna do a cheapo backlit keyboard if I want a wireless one. Right now, I'm using the one that they sent me from work. It's just the Magic keyboard, Bluetooth.
Oh yeah, I like the feel of those.
So I have my wired keyboard, and if I do decide I want to, sit back or lounge or whatever, the feet up on the desk, whatever, I just turn this bad boy on and go from there because my computer has Bluetooth. So
This MX keys it's very similar feel to that keyboard, Jason. It's almost identical size as well. Does that one have the number pad?
no, this is a
Okay. It's the
TKL.
So the MX the keys, it's the same size as the standard wired Mac keyboard, Apple keyboard, and has a solid feel. It's heavy, and if you pair it with the MX3 Master Mouse,
Yeah,
Well,
I
I was going to ask that, like that
generic
keyboard,
one.
the MX keys, does that come with a mouse? Like I know a lot of the Logitech varieties
No.
come with a mouse.
No, you buy them separate. I've seen them in kits on Amazon, but you're about $100 on the keyboard, and you're about another $100 on the mouse. But you can. The nice thing about Logitech now, I think you can pair up to 6 or 7 devices with one of their little nano deals, so you don't have to have multiple USB slots pulled for separate devices anymore.
Nice. Aris, you got anything you want to bring up before we go on?
No. Sorry.
So there was a talk last Saturday on Biddle that was kind of like really deep, and we never did get to the app list, but it was such a great discussion. Neil from Fedora was there, and it went so deep into developers and forks and all kinds of things. And there was a question in there that got brought up that I wanted to get back to, but we never did get back to it. So I guess we'll get back to it now. And that is, I believe, and don't quote me on it, I don't remember his exact words, but Neil asked, what is your idea of the perfect distro, the idea of the perfect disk, like operating system? So I don't know who wants to go first. Whoever wants to go first, jump in. That's fine. But I'll go first. How's that? So the perfect operating system for me is something that I don't have to touch out of the box. So I look at something when I install it, I look at not only what does it look like, but how does it feel? What is the overall feel of this operating system that I'm using. So we tried OpenSUSE on Linux user space, and it just gave you that solid feel to it. Like, it was awesome. And, you know, I don't know, are we announced? Right? We did announce what we're trying, right? Okay.
Yeah, we did.
We installed Deepin, Debian Edition, and we've been trying that. And that, to me, now there are some caveats to that, and maybe we'll get into that, but that to me is a distribution that feels like an operating system. The whole cohesive idea of everything being right there, looking professional. It has the right amount of transparency, in my opinion, the right amount of effects, and yet it doesn't seem to me to go overboard. So that is my idea of a perfect distro, something I don't have to touch, yet gives me the ability to do what I want. So there you go. There's my start. Big Pod, go ahead.
Well, for me, a perfect distro, a perfect operating system really, would be the one that would let me run every program, no matter what platform is on, whether it be Windows, Linux, Mac, and even mobile applications. And the one that I don't have to touch much myself after first setup, that it would drive itself in a way. Because, well, operating system is something that should get out of your way, and you should just run things on it, and that things that you run on it should be getting in your way, because they must, since you use them.
All right, Computer Kid.
So my idea of a perfect distro, I think, is constantly changing. So that could make me a distro hopper, but instead it's currently made me into an archer. So like what I want out of my window manager, what I want out of my desktop environment, what sort of theming I want, what sort of apps I want. It for me, it's changing a lot, as in quite frequently. So my perfect distro would have to be something that's either highly customizable or is build it yourself, which is currently what I do.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Like, even soon, I plan to move from Extended 4 to something like ButterFS, which you couldn't. There's not many distros. Not the most distros people think of. You can't easily just swap out your file system. So I kind of want something that's more build it yourself.
Mhm.
Which it will obviously include caveats, like I'm going to have to babysit it a little bit. It's not going to be hands off. I'm going to have errors that I have to fix. It's
Sure.
a consequence of it.
The good thing you mentioned going from Extended 4 to ButterFS, there is a way to do that. So that's a good choice, at least. Tony, go right ahead.
Well, I think the only way I would get the perfect distro for me would be if I was to pinch all the bits I like from different distros, stick them all in a pot, and give it to somebody who's got the knowledge and ability and say, I like all these features, build me a distro that incorporates this. Otherwise, I'll just continue to distro hop all the time. I mean, this last week, I've changed, without exaggerating, I must have changed at least twice every day, a different distro for a few hours, and then switched again to something else. I'm currently back on Linux Mint because I got fed up with things that, that annoys me. That didn't quite work. And why is that like that? With Linux Mint, the only thing I'm not really 100% happy about it is that I can't get a dock that works brilliantly on it. So I end up using their built-in bar, whatever you call that system, and live with the fact that it's full length and it's not really big enough for me. The icons, I want them a bit bigger. Most people would probably say, well, they're plenty big enough, but I just like things to be a bit bigger because I'm getting old and the eyesight's not as good as it used to be. But that's the only way I'm going to do it. I do agree with Rocco. I do like the new deepin. I could probably use that out of the box, but there's some things about that that annoy me. On the left-hand side, the folders are not in the same order as they are on the desktop. Downloads is at the bottom, whereas it should be underneath the folder that it appears in the desktop. It's little things like that that I want to alter. Now, with some file managers, you can drag those and put them in the order you want, but with Deepin, you can't. I could go on about this all night, but I won't.
Do it, Tony. Do it.
Now, there's just so many things about different distros that really look good, and then something doesn't work properly, like Spotify, for argument's sake. The mouse pointer will be the one it's meant to be, and then when you hover over onto it, it changes back to the default one. Why does it do that? Maybe I'm being too fussy. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking for the perfection. It's not there, and nothing's perfect. Everything's got problems. But all these things really, really bug me, and I think that's part of the reason why I'm constantly hopping, because I'm still convinced that something out there will be really good. I mean, I tried Fedora Beta 33 today. I've tried other betas thinking, well, maybe there's good coming, but because they're betas, they have little problems anyway, and it's really not a road to go down because you're never going to get a perfect beta.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think I've said enough.
No, well, you mentioned it, right? It's a moving target. You're always trying to play catch up to the thing that keeps getting fixed. So it's hard because it's not a stable thing. It's not, here it is, good, go. And everybody's got things to fix.
Well, a new distro will pop up and somebody will do a review, and I'm downloading it to have a look. So I'm never going to be like Rocco and stick on Pop OS or something for a year plus. I just can't see it happening. Much as I'd love to, it's just not going to happen. You have to tell me how you managed to do it, Rocco, because there's got to be an answer.
I don't think there's an. You know what, Tony? I'm telling you, the biggest thing was not having the stability. That was the biggest thing. I found Pop OS. I loved it, and it was stable. And I was so tired of reinstalling, so tired of having to, when your time shrinks down, your setup time also shrinks down. So when I'm getting set up for these shows or for the podcast, I just can't be bothered by, hey, my distro's not working. Let me reinstall my distro real quick and all the programs I need to get this done. I just want something that's going to work when I go to use it.
Yeah, well, you use a lot more programs and do a lot more stuff than I do, but I'm not clever enough to have a script or anything like that. I do all my installs completely manually for the small amount of stuff I do, but I still have to set it. It takes me probably a couple of hours to 2.5 hours to get it back to where it needs to be. And then I'll nuke it 15, 20 minutes later and start again. And you get really fed up. I mean, Eric had a bit of a meltdown with it, didn't he? And I see that because I get to the stage where I'm walking away from it. I'll come back and I'll finish the setup later because I just can't be bothered anymore.
Yep.
Yeah. I think some things are compromised. You settle and you live with it.
Yeah. Well, I keep trying to say to myself, right, what distro do I really like? What compromises will I have to make? And can I live with it?
Right.
That doesn't seem to help.
No. You keep looking. Yep. I get it.
Yeah.
Eris, go right ahead.
Okay. Perfect distro. Now, how much time do I have?
You got an hour and a half.
We got plenty of time, dude.
Okay. Well, to me, a perfect distro will take my privacy at the forefront. My perfect distro will give me a working OS within 10 minutes. But if I choose to, I can go back and build the whole thing myself, like you do in Arch. The perfect distro I can rely on. It doesn't matter if some update comes up, I can recover, or I just don't have any issues. I think one of the the biggest things that I always look for in a distro is that it just keeps working. Like especially if I don't do anything to it, it should just like I should install it, update it regularly, and it shouldn't really bother me at all as much as possible. And I think a perfect distro should empower me. Like if I want to know more or do more, it should give me those options. It shouldn't try hiding things from me. It could do it maybe at first, but it shouldn't go out of its way to hide things. I'll leave it at that, I think.
All right. Before we move on, EB's in house. Just saying, throwing it out there.
Good evening, Rocco. Good evening, everybody. How are we doing? Lovely to see you all.
Hi, EB.
Hey, everybody. Much hugs and loves to everybody.
Hello, EB.
Hey, he's next. I just thought I'd pop in for 10 minutes just to check the crew out, make sure everybody's still alive and kicking and, doing the
Yes.
thing.
I think we are.
What bombshell are you going to drop on us just before you leave?
Right.
Well, funny you should say that, Tony. Now, funny you should say that.
There we go.
No, you're perfectly safe. Perfectly safe.
And the Bearded Wonder also showed up.
Yay! Hi. Sorry, I got sidetracked. I was on the Mintcast pre-production meeting, and then remembered. Well, I got reminded it was the Euro edition tonight.
Nice. I
Big
love it.
Tell
Tony.
Leo to knock it off.
Esnix, good to have you, brother.
Oh, good to be here. So
Maybe we can continue that conversation from last week.
my memory is shot. What were
that's
we
all right.
talking about last week?
We were talking about a lot of stuff, but
Oh, okay. I'll have to rewatch the video. I don't
Dig it.
remember.
we'll bring it up. We'll bring it up again.
Well, I guess since I have the mic, I might as well talk about a perfect
There you go. Do it.
distro or operating system. I have old hardware. I don't game, so my options are wide open. I don't feel limited when I distro hop that something is not going to work or not going to meet a simple need that I have. I like my distro to just work. I don't want to have to mess with it. And when it starts freezing randomly by doing nothing, then it's gone. Next, as Zebedee would say. So Debian just suits me. Arch actually suits me just fine too. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome. So I see Robin. How's it going? What you been up to? Being muted. Other than that,
Other than being muted, he's good.
right?
Other than having to press buttons again today, blimey, I don't know. How are we doing all? We all right?
Doing great, man. Hey, so any thoughts on perfect distro, perfect operating system?
Well, it sounds like I've joined at the perfect time then, doesn't it? Because perfect timing as always. Save the best till last. No. Well, it's interesting you say that because in terms of the perfect distro for myself, if I want a distro that I can just on a USB key just boot up quickly and it's there and I can get it installed quickly, I always go for Solus for that one. Solus, I don't know, but their installation process, I can get up and running literally within 5 to 10 minutes, and it's out of the box. So I've got a browser, I've got what I need there. It's just perfect for that. But obviously, some of the software applications that I like to use are sometimes not available in the Solus packages there. So that's where sometimes I get a bit stuck on that one. So besides Solus, for me, I don't know. At the moment, I seem to be having no issues with Endeavour. Endeavour's just working straight for me. Perfect. I mean, it did start off this time last year with some issues, but yeah, my love for that distro is just getting stronger and stronger because every time I always come back to Arch, I always come back to Endeavour. And in terms of Ubuntu based, yeah, okay, Ubuntu, but Ubuntu everybody just talks about Ubuntu all the time. Ubuntu this, Ubuntu that, and it's just like, well, Ubuntu is based on Debian, so it's just like, for me, yeah, it's a difficult choice, and I'm at a stage now where I've I've now learnt in the 3 years that I've been using Linux that I've hit the stage now where it's difficult choice for me now because there's so many out there. And if I have to recommend Linux distros to people, I always say go with Mint or go with Ubuntu if you want to try Linux out. Zorin, obviously, with the latest version, I've got to say that has come a long way. So that to me now is on my recommendation list. Yeah, so for more intermediate, advanced use, like myself here, really for me now, it's not so much the distro; it's more about the desktop environment itself. And I've reached this point now in my Linux usage now where I just either like to play around with KDE and I like to play around with XFCE. But if someone talks to me about Manjaro or Ubuntu and all the kind of well-known ones, I'm just like, yeah, but there are others out there that are based on this and that. So, but personal choice for me, number one on my list is Endeavour.
Well, I think all those are good answers, but I think the original question was more of not really necessarily naming distros, but what would you want to see is in your perfect distro? What types of things, like, are you looking? Well, like I said, I want something that is out of the box, ready to go, like those type of things where, I mentioned OpenSUSE and I mentioned Deepin, and because they were examples of what I was talking about, but really, I think the original question was, what do you want from your perfect distro? What do you think should be in it? So, here you go.
For me,
I think that's an impossible question to answer, though, is it not?
I think, yeah, I agree with that. But
there's no such thing as a perfect distro. However, if you phrase the question a slightly different way, can you name a perfect distro out of the box which can fulfill a specific set of tasks? My straight answer would be Ubuntu Studio. Absolutely fantastic. Now, the reason it's fantastic is not because it comes with a load of media creation tools, which you can get on any distro. It's the fact that all of those media creation tools are configured and good to go right out the box. So let's say somebody says to you, I'm thinking of becoming a YouTuber and creating videos. Which operating system and complete package would you recommend that's free, that I can stick on my computer, and within 10 minutes I can be creating almost as bad content as what that guy from England EB creates? Ubuntu Studio, fantastic. Absolutely everything configured. Beautiful. What a great distro. Absolutely brilliant.
I would definitely agree. It's got to be Studio all the way.
Yeah, definitely.
I think
That's the one I have my students use when they need to. I'm teaching them Linux and Blender and Kdenlive and everything. So Ubuntu Studio, it's just easy peasy.
Yeah, and what's really cool, Jill, is that with Ubuntu Studio, you can start off with OpenShot, which is very similar to the old Microsoft Movie Maker.
Yeah.
And if that's a little bit too basic and you're prepared to put a little bit of effort in and, have a little bit of a learning curve, there's also Kdenlive. Fantastic. So I think that's a wonderful example of a distro that's catering to as many needs as possible. Now, what makes me giggle my backside off is that you'll get people that will turn around and say, well, Ubuntu Studio, number one, it's Ubuntu, and number two, it's bloat. Can somebody please give me a definitive description of what bloat is? Because one man's bloat is another man's treasure chest.
Yeah,
is it not?
bloat is what is for the user what he doesn't need. So basically, 99% of those can be for someone who doesn't do graphical stuff, doesn't do multimedia stuff. Ubuntu Studio, a definition of bloat.
Yeah. So why, if you don't use those, why in your wildest imagination would you download Ubuntu Studio?
EB, I think you made some good points there. Ubuntu Studio is amazing. It does a lot of things. And the 2010 is beautifully redesigned. Their KDE implementation is one of the just prettiest I've seen in a long time. But the idea of this question isn't what's out there now that fits the bill. It's what would you like? What is your dream scenario that works perfect for you? So you might be on Endeavor. I love Endeavor also, Robin. Those guys do amazing work. And they've taken Antergos to it. Like, it just, you don't even think about Antergos anymore. Endeavor is just taking everything to another level. But there might be some things you wish were a little different, or would make your workflow a little different. So it's not so much about what's the perfect distro out there. It's what's the perfect, what things would perfectly fit your need. To tag onto that, something I've been on lately is package management. So I just want to get what I want. I don't want to have to, I don't want to have to go run a bunch of scripts to install a bunch of things so I can get a piece of software. I love what Manjaro has done in that section, where I can tick a box. I've got access to snaps. I can tick a box. I've got access to flat packs, and I can tick a box, and I've got access to the AUR. For me, that's perfect. That's an amazing situation. So we don't have to talk about like, oh, this distro versus that distro. I think we're talking about features within a distro that would be really cool to have, that would make your life great. So that's kind of the purpose here, I think.
Almost as if you're making your own distro, but you don't have to code.
Exactly. You can be an idiot like me and know absolutely nothing but how to use things. and just your dream shop, like maybe it is a combination of 20 different distros out there. You like little bits and pieces that make your life easier, but no matter what I install, I always end up going, I kind of wish it did this.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I kind of wish it did this like the other one. And I think that's what this question is supposed to pull out is what do we wish it did? What do we want it to do? And Jill, you had your hand up. I wanted to hear your input there.
Oh, yeah. So I have so many different use cases, but I would like a distro that'll work on my old Deck Alphas and Power PCs, as well as the latest hardware. One of the issues right now is they're taking a lot of the 32-bit and a lot of the drivers that I need from my old equipment out of the distros. So of course Debian, is the Swiss Army knife, and it works on everything, but I would like a version of Debian that installs as fast as Ubuntu Mate or, Ubuntu, any of the Ubuntus, that's quick, easy, just installs in, 10, 15 minutes. And that would be nice. Although I like the fun of playing with my distro and configuring it on my old machines. But on my broadcasting rig, like Rocco, I need something that's stable, that's always going to work. All my software's there.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I have different use cases because I have so many different things I'm doing.
Well, Jill, you talk about old hardware there. Have you tried the latest version of Puppy on any of your older hardware there yet?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Puppy is actually one of my favorites. I have it actually on quite a few machines. Yeah, Puppy's good. Yeah, the new Ubuntu edition is nice, but I like the Slackware one as well. And Sparky Linux has been nice, the Debian-based Sparky, because it comes with all the enhancements for gaming as well, and it will run on a lot of the old machines.
So you want some consistency, I like consistency too. I just also like to just completely blow out my drive at random times because it's too consistent.
Right.
I find that if you just delete entire partitions and wipe them right before you're gonna get up,
it just gives you a fresh start, right, Joe?
It just so yeah. What I really want in a distro is something that's Joe-proof, and I don't know
that doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
You need self-destruct OS.
I need self-destruct OS that says, "Do you really want to do this?" And then you click yes, and it's like, "No, dummy. Do you really want to do this?" That's what I need.
We've all
and
been
it gives
there.
you a countdown to give you the final
and
choice.
Like a 30-minute buffer to go realize I'm doing the wrong thing. Yeah,
I've been there myself, Joe.
That takes all
What you need
fun
is
out
some
of it.
patience D.
Patience D. Yes. Good.
Yeah, but Joe, that is the fun of Linux. You could break something, you just think, oh shoot, all right, I'll just start again.
Yes, Yes.
Well, that's good if
And
you
that's
have
another reason
backups
why
of
I
your
like
files.
Endeavour. Something goes wrong with my Endeavour install, I just think, oh, okay, well, my data's all right. I'll just put in a fresh install of Endeavour back. It's fine.
So let me ask you, Robin, do you you sound like somebody who understands backups.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
So yeah. So that's it's a good thing to understand these days because
Some
I
some
hadn't
people-
backed
Yeah,
up
I
that
always,
system.
Some
I
people
wiped
don't
out.
back up.
Yeah, I didn't back up the system that I wiped out. So
Yeah.
You gotta have backups for your backups for your backups.
yeah.
That's the part of the reason why with every Linux, and I've learned this in all the distros I've touched and installed on this production machine, keep your data separate. That's why I've got 3 hard drives in this box. So my data always stays on one drive. And then if something goes wrong with the distro, I just think, oh, hell with it. Just wipe it and I start again with another
Just
distro.
don't wipe the wrong drive.
Exactly. And I had the same situation yesterday when I found out about the update of Manjaro Architect. And I just last night, I thought, do you know what? I'm going to make a video about this. And I just started last night playing around with it. And I was really, really surprised how knowledgeable I was when I was going through all of those menus to get that installed. And you do have to be a bit of an intermediate to know what you're doing. But as long as you can understand the terminology that's being thrown at you, you can let the distro do the work for you. And when it did finally get installed, I was really surprised at what I ended up with. And it was a distro that I was after, because it's just minimal. It's just give me the basics and I will do the rest. Don't you force any software on me. I will get what I need to do my job. And that's why I like distributions like OpenSUSE. And obviously playing around with Architect yesterday, I was pleased to get a minimal out of the box install of Manjaro on my machine last night. I was really proud of myself with the end result.
I do recommend, though, if you like to do backups, that you get one of these nice hard cases, and then you just have a data drive. All your data is put on a separate hard drive. This is a 4 terabyte drive that I only put into the system through a caddy, through a USB dock, and then I will back up everything onto this if I download anything new or updated this or that or whatever. That way, if anything bricks on any system, I have all the files that I need backed up separate, not even actually attached to a system, so it's not going to be damaged. And that goes into a drawer where it stays safe.
Good idea. Musical Coder, did you want to weigh in on any of this? There's got to be something you want. At least say hi to us then.
No, I mean, I've been through all that pain before. I've blown away a lot of different things by mistake. Oh yeah, that's the drive I want. Wait, no, that's not. Oh,
too late.
Yeah. Basically now, I do. I try and make sure that I have something with FreeNAS. I have a FreeNAS box, so I try to make sure my computer's backed up. Lately, and since I built that new beast, I've been playing with Ansible so that when I do a fresh install, I can, download this Ansible script and from my GitLab instance, and boom, 10 minutes later, the computer is basically back to what it was before it all started.
I like that. Who was it that was here a couple months ago talking about Ansible?
Dustin from
yes.
Ubuntu
Yeah.
Budget. That's actually, I found his scripts on GitHub and I used that as a template and created my own thing, and it works great. The beautiful thing is I use it to install the app software. I can use it to install snaps. I use it for actually use it to set up all of my NAS mount points. And the nice thing is because I have a couple computers, I can go in and say, when the computer is my main computer, make this point the backup folder to this NAS option. When it's my laptop, point the backup folder to this NAS option. It works great, and I'm running it through. Actually, I'll probably be testing it tomorrow on this laptop I'm working on right now, because I think this is the next thing that's getting ready to go through the process of let's play around and get ready for the 2010 stuff.
Yep.
Very cool.
Bearded Wonder, did you want to get in on maybe what you would want? in a perfect distro?
That's a difficult one, that. I think most of it's already been covered. For me, stability is the key because, like Jill said, if you're doing regular podcasting and audio editing and stuff like that, you need it to work. But then I have other alternatives for distro hopping. I've got an icy dock in the tower, so I can swap in and out as many discs as I want for doing distro hopping. Mint works for me at the moment, but it doesn't necessarily mean it'll work forever. I've changed from Ubuntu in the past to use Mint at the moment. But as far as software goes, I do like the idea of a rolling distro. I tried Sparky out for a month for distro hoppers, and they've got a rolling release based on testing. And I really like that. I was really surprised. It was so stable. It was a cracking OS, that, and I could see myself using that more and more actually, because of the fact that you get all the up-to-date software, you get the latest kernel, etc. So I think for me, it's the software that I use being as current as possible, working on, with the hardware that you've got, etc. So,
yep.
But yeah,
very nice. All right, Joe, you mentioned earlier about package management and how it kind of like goes in with this. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So Strickle and I were chatting. Everybody thought we were going to argue, but it doesn't happen because we're adults. But we were chatting on Telegram last night about package management, sort of. He was talking about how it's unreasonable for users to expect that distros are going to support every type of package. So whether that's Snap, Flatpak, Deb, RPM, whatever it is, the major ones, that they're going to support it. Now, having access to it is something completely different. We all know we can go in and a couple of command lines and we've got access to most packages we want. But that was kind of the point he was making. But what the conversation we ended up getting into was, does it matter? So we've come to this place now where we've got, so if I install a system, any of us install a system, and we go, okay, this system comes with Pop! OS, comes with Flatpaks, okay? I'm gonna go get all my software. Well, all the software is not available in Flatpak. Now they might have some in a Deb, and you can usually get most of the software between the two. If I go to Ubuntu, it's going to be a Snap based, and I can get all of the software mostly between Snap and Deb. If I go to Fedora, I can get most of the software between two, but we've kind of gone full circle to this place where before everything was a Deb or an RPM, and you just got it. But now, because there's been more offerings of package management, it feels like I've got to go install and set up Snap, Flatpak. I've got to make sure if I'm on Manjaro or Endeavor, I pull from the AUR. What software is now everywhere, and I just wonder, have we ended up in a mess of too much? Right, this is the Linux problem. Too much option, because not everybody puts all their stuff in Flatpak or in Snap. It's divisive. It's divided. So I don't know. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
I think it's exactly the same thesis as Linux itself as a desktop distro. So many bases, so many distros, so many desktop managers, so many file managers, so many this, so many that. Choice is a wonderful thing, but it's the old story. Too much choice can be just as bad as none at all. Just my 10 pence. And just to answer your original question, Rocco, which I apologise if I misunderstood.
It's all good.
Very simple. Linux from scratch, the Ubiquity installer, simple software manager, and full DirectX 12.
Those are good things to have in a distro. Yep.
So back to that question. Thanks, EB. So Manjaro. So one thing that keeps me coming back to Manjaro, and this was something I mentioned in what's perfect for me, or what I really like in a distro, is I don't have to think about if it's a snap or a flat pack or a AUR or from the Arch repository. I just search what I want and it goes and tells me it's there, and I hit install. So that is, to me, a major feature. Now they don't support all those. So if I run into a problem with it, they're not supporting it, but it's there.
Can I ask you a quick question, Joe?
Yeah.
Would you be having this same conversation if you were using Windows? Is everything just available for Windows from an exe file, for argument's sake?
I don't know. Mostly, but it's not in one place. So the thing
or Mac.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be Windows.
Same with Mac. Like I hear all the time, it kills me. People talk about the Mac's killer feature is the App Store. I don't buy anything from the App Store. Nobody uses the App Store. You do it like Windows. You go to the website you want, and you download software. But in Linux, we are used to going to a store, or not a store, but like an area, a repository. We search. There's a tool. We find what we want and we install it that way. And it handles our updates. It handles all of those things. But are we getting to a Windows-like world where, okay, I'm just going to go to the developer's webpage and install the deb file now, because at least I know it's up to date. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Is it an issue for you?
Well, on Linux, this has been always a bit of a fragment, because if you wanted the latest software, you had to build it from source, from GitHub, to get absolutely latest software. On the other hand, if you wanted to get software in general, most likely you might find it in your repositories of the distro, but then you might not. So you had to go either look at PPAs or AUR or I don't know what else. Now we have condensed that into what? 2 more points. You have either Pacman, AUR, Pacman, depths or RPMs, and you have Flatpak and Snap. So in my opinion, we're in a better place, because if the developers are diligent, you will have latest snaps and stable snaps. But then again, on the other hand, if they are diligent enough.
Yeah, but surely this question only becomes poignant to people who just want to download a pre-compiled program. Because don't forget, back in the old days, you compiled everything yourself, and then this topic wasn't an issue. But because we're now in the days of hand-holding, which I think is a great progression for Linux, the problem with that is fragmentation. It's like everybody says, oh, snaps is rubbish. It takes up loads of disk space. Well, you download and install OBS on Ubuntu from a repository and then download the snap. And the snap has got every single plugin you could ever want pre-installed.
Yep.
Right. Not only that, the snap is completely self-containerized from the operating system, so it can't technically bust your operating system. So there's so many things into, yes, as I say, one man's bloat is another man's treasure chest. It's very, very difficult to navigate. It really is.
Well, look, there is so many things to this conversation. One, when you look at Windows, like you said, EB, you got exe files all over the place, but you know what to get. So you go to the publisher's website, you get the exe, you download it, you install it. There's no messing around with different formats, or maybe a format would be a zip file, but everybody knows what to do with that as well. When you come to Linux, you have, obviously the main repositories and everything, and then you add in all of these others. And I think, Joe, to your point, it does feel like there's so much more now to get software. Now, that can be a great thing because it opens it up, that we do have all of these avenues for software, but it can feel like it's overwhelming of where I'm going to get that piece of software. Is the snap working better than the Flatpak? Is the deb working better than either of those? And now you have extra questions that you didn't have before.
And don't forget, Rocco,
but you have
as
extra
well.
options.
You do. That's a plus side.
Yeah,
But you have questions as well, which is a downside.
And
Right,
don't
so-
forget, people on Windows just blindly trust an exe file. It could be a virus for all you know. So, you know, there's you start weighing it all up. It's great that we have all this choice on Linux, and now it's leading to confusion, bloat, and all the rest of it. What's your alternative? Go to Windows, get yourself an exe file, and your computer's infected. You know, so it's horses for
Potentially.
course, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Who's to say
potentially.
that we're not going to see that possibility with containerized apps in Linux, though?
Nobody has Next. Absolutely
Exactly.
correct. But with all the advantages that containerized Linux applications are bringing, surely the benefits of a containerized application outweigh the risk of a virus or something malicious. Because if
Only
that's the
until
case,
you get hit by the virus.
well, if that's the case, Esnix, then why on earth are Fedora doing Silver Blue? That's a containerized OS, not an app.
There's some definitely benefits.
that's a totally different ballpark.
There's benefits to the package management, and I don't even think the how it's happening to me is the issue, because I am we talked about the dream scenario. I don't care if it's a flat pack, a snap, I don't care what it is. I need software and I want it to work. So I have no dog in either fight. I think I love that somebody is trying to solve this problem, and that's usually what it is with Linux, right? Someone's trying to solve a problem, so we end up, it's just that 5 people are going to solve it 5 different ways, and now we have all these different options. But so what I was thinking too is, you know, Ubuntu talked about it, how difficult it became to maintain Chromium, right? With all the versioning and all the stuff that happens. Dan knows, right? So the snap was a solution for that. So that's a great thing. So that is something now the Ubuntu team does not have to maintain. If all of the distros now start shifting to either a snap or a flat pack, that really should cut down on the maintenance of packages, right? These devs, all these packages they have to maintain, and then now they can focus on the OS. But if they could turn some of that focus to, again, the little tick box for Manjaro, and I hear you, like the easy button. We've gotten lazy, but that is what draws people into using Linux, right? Otherwise they'll stay on Windows, because yes, Windows you can just hit. They know if I hit download and I double click, an installer of some sort is going to come up on my screen and install whatever. And most of the time they're going to install like the 9 Yahoo extension bars and all that garbage that we don't deal with as much, but they know it's going to work and they know they're going to get their piece of software. We don't have that in as simple of, some of them do. Some of these OSs are really good at, oh, that's a dev, you want to install it. Yes, obviously, let me connect the dots for you. And it makes it really user friendly. But are we in a point where, you know, if Ubuntu decides like, yeah, I'm just going to stick with snaps, and if you want a flat pack, you still got to go into, you know, put in this command line stuff and get that. And, you know, Pop's like, nope, we're flat pack, and if you want snaps, you can do it, but you got to go do it yourself. That's where I come back to Manjaro with the little easy button click. Like, at least it's just handling my updates, my packages.
But I think that's where we need to get to with everybody. And it's going back to, you know, supporting it versus disabling it or just enabling it. You know, I don't think that every distro should have to support snaps or flat packs, but that should at least be enabled out of the box for people so that they can choose to use whatever software they want to use. Like Manjaro, that's a perfect system where you can just click the box and you have every available package software there. That's what every distro should have. And that, going back to the perfect distro, that would be one of those things that has to be in there. Yeah. But I don't think again, we're not trying to put more work on the developers to have to support apps on specific distros and snaps and all this stuff, but at least enable it.
Yeah.
At least
Yeah,
allow
but
it
you
to be
see
installed.
that comment in itself is wrong, Rocco, isn't it?
Why is that,
really?
EB?
Because let's take Joe, our Joe here, right? Absolutely loves his Manjaro. What's Manjaro Linux? Arch. So one could argue, if Joe loves Manjaro that much, why on earth has he not built his own Arch from scratch, hence getting rid of the bloat and only running exactly what he needs?
Well, because
Joe
not all
has.
of us are. Not
Joe
all of
has.
us. Joe
But he
has.
likes Manjaro.
Precisely, Rocco. But not all of us want an out of the box experience that wipes your backside and comes with free moist wipes on an industrial scale.
Not all
This
of us
is the
want to build
problem.
our own distro, EB.
But
Not
EB
all of
but
us
EB
want to have that
yeah.
granular control to say, this is what I got to have it, and I got to have it tweaked so it's so light and there's nothing else in it. And I could care less. I want it to work, and I want certain features in it. So
Yeah, no,
if my perfect distro has that piece of the puzzle where it can enable any software and it has working out of the box that feel of greatness, I don't care if it's the fastest distro or the lightest distro. I care about what I want it to do, not what it can do. What I need it to do.
That's fine, but by the same token, you've got to respect the person that does want it 500 meg lighter, that does want it to run 10 seconds quicker, that wants a 4-second boot, not an 8-second boot, that wants a super fast, low latency kernel, when 99% of the people on the planet don't even know what it is, let alone care about. But this is what Linux is. It tries to be all things to all people. And if you're not careful, it's going to end up pleasing no one.
You can still have all those things. The person you're talking about, EB, is not installing Ubuntu, and they're not installing Pop OS, and they're probably not installing Manjaro unless maybe they want to play around with Architect. But the Mint, Ubuntu, all the flavors, Pop, these are the ones that we say, hey, Windows user, come check this out. This will get you. I got you. Let me show you this. Oh, okay. Well, I see this piece of software is not available here, but it's available as a Flatpak. What's that? Okay. Well, here, open the terminal and now put in this code and then restart your machine. And now you can install from. It would be nice. Again, we're talking dream world here.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice if, since we're not going to have to hopefully maintain so many packages, we and maybe they are. This could all just be a moot point because it's all going to be that way. If they could start working towards a world where a search box comes up and I say I want Chromium, and Chromium shows up, whether it's I don't care again. And these people aren't going to care either. They don't know the difference between a Deb, a Flatpak, a Snap, an RP. They could care less. They just want Chromium.
And the thing about it is, a lot of these things are available in certain distros.
They are.
So this distro has that, but this one does not. Right. This one has this piece, but this one does not have that. So that's why. And EB, I don't think we've had many conversations in the last few weeks about maybe getting behind one distro. Now today, what's your perfect distro? These type of questions. And I don't think anybody's advocating that we lose the choice of Linux. When we were talking about getting behind one distro, even, it was, yes, let's keep the choice, but let's put the focus behind one main distro to say, this is, if you want to try Linux, this is the distro to try. That doesn't take away from the choice of everybody else to have whatever it is that they want. It's just to be able to hand to people to say, this is Linux. And if you're interested, there's a whole lot more choice out there, but this is where you start.
Okay, so the need for that though. Why? I just don't understand why there's a push or a desire to even want to have a distro as an example.
Because there's so many people, Esnix, that don't really care what they're running.
Right.
They don't care what they're running as far as
whoever they ask will give them their opinion.
Right. They will give them their opinion, but that doesn't mean it will be the right opinion.
Right.
That will be that
Well,
person's
it's the right
opinion on
opinion
Linux.
for that. Right.
What I'm
you
saying
get
is
when
there
you
should
have
be
multiple-
one. There should be
and
one that
that's like
says.
saying there should be one pizza that, oh, if you want to try pizza and you've never tried it, try Domino's. 'cause
No,
that's pizza.
It's no, that's not
exactly
the.
what it is.
Let me help. Let me take that analogy and take it one step further. It's not
Okay.
like saying there's one pizza. It's like saying here's all of our pizzas, but here's our signature pizza.
Yeah.
This one is the one that we say is the best, but you can choose from 50 different types of pizzas and sizes, toppings, and shapes. But here's our signature pizza. And I think that's more what I'm talking about.
But we have how many people in this chat? We have what, 12 people, 10 people? I'm having a hard time counting. 11
14.
people.
14.
Okay, you're going to get 14, possibly 14 different answers.
That
of
is
what your
correct.
signature
You are
pizza
correct
is.
there. You are
Absolutely
absolutely
the problem.
correct.
Yeah.
Which is,
I don't see that as a problem. That's a beauty of it. That's
it can
choice.
be.
That's freedom.
Everybody pause for computer kid. Here it comes right here. He actually is, he's got a scrolling message here.
Wow, I can't believe somebody actually noticed it.
Yeah.
It's
you know,
pizza.
We were all watching.
Pizza's the best distro.
Pizza's the best. All right.
Yeah. The Esnix, I think part of the issue is though, if I want to introduce someone to pizza, I don't throw anchovies, jalapenos, pepperoni, sausage, and like make some gut bomb pizza that they're going to be like, I'm never eating pizza again. We
Right,
want
so
something
why-
palatable. We have to have something palatable. And the
It's
other
on
thing
the
is,
classic.
all of us in this room, we're all nerds, man. We're all we're like,
But
we're
Joe,
gonna-
that's great,
we're gonna-
but isn't that what Linux is?
no,
Yeah,
well, so
that's what
Linux is
it-
for nerds.
it
Depending on
has
who you
been.
want to introduce Linux to.
It has been for nerds, but now that it's coming on Lenovo and Dell and all of these other places, the general public is going to have access to Linux more than and then they may even realize
Oh,
they've been
that's-
using Linux all along.
Joe,
But
Joe,
we
when
need
was
some-
the last
That's a
time
non
you
sequitur,
ever heard
aren't
a mother and daughter say, oh, hey, have you seen Walmart? They're flogging Lenovo laptop computers and I can either pick Windows or I can have Linux. How about that, Mum?
I'm
No,
not
I think
talking
that's
about
the
mothers
point.
and daughters,
No.
and you're not going to find Lenovo in Walmart either. If you do, run because it's not Lenovo. It's like
Yeah.
it's
Hey,
like
It's
Lenovo
amalgam.
dash
Walmart-
Pro or
Yeah.
something. But what
Walmart
you do
did
have
try
is you
to-
have people who are I don't want to say techie, but they are power users. They have
Oh,
tasks.
please, Joe, say any phrase on earth. Do not say power user because
Okay.
that pushes my buttons.
Well,
Do it. Just say it,
Well,
Joe. Just say
whatever.
power
I should
user.
have said that because Rocco's going to fill his boots
Or
now.
shell user.
they do more.
Oh, boy.
They do more with their computer than browse the internet and check email. Okay.
But
Those people.
here's the important piece. You're not going to get computers in Walmart and Best Buy that run Linux until you have
Right.
that signature distro that is the quote unquote default for the everyday user.
Right. Right now
Yeah.
it's Chrome OS.
Not for us,
Okay, that's
not
true.
for us, command line nerds or people who want to tinker,
Mhm.
but for
The experienced people.
Well,
Right.
Walmart has sold.
we are
Linux
the people
computers in
that
the past.
us in this group here are the people that actually sought out Linux as an operating system. We wanted Linux as an operating system because we wanted something different than Windows. We wanted something different than Mac. And we knew that we wanted something different. There's a lot of people out there. This is the whole thing that we're trying to get here is that there's a lot of people out there that don't realize what Linux is
Yeah.
because they don't use it. It's not
And they
some
don't
big
care.
thing that's out there where they want to go into Windows or they want to go into their Mac OS, hit their little, Office Suite button or whatever, and then just, go to the App Store, hit a button, watch a little circle go around and download it. They don't want to go. They're not the type of people that are going to go. A lot of them are not the type of people that are going to go, as like Music and Coda was saying, they're not going to go to the command line and start typing in commands in Windows or Linux or whatever, because they're not the nerd users. They're not the techie techs. They're just like, I just need to go pay my bill. I need to go, watch my favorite movie, watch my favorite YouTube video. we use Linux on a little more on a different level because we want to digest all this stuff. Now, what we're trying to say is, if we want more of these normies, as Computer Kid is saying over here, to join the Linux community, there has to be some sort of I want to say one distro to rule them all type thing, so to speak. That's why if you look at like Linux on the Lenovo laptops, they're choosing certain distros to put on there for a reason, and that's because they want those distros to be the initial offering to the new users, because they're the more popular, more widely known distros.
And I would argue, Jason, that most people don't even care. Like you mentioned, they just want to go to Windows or Mac and get they don't even care about that. They don't even care about Windows or Mac. All they care about is opening the apps they want to use to get things done. That's it.
99.9% of the time it's done on one of these anyway.
They don't care. So what I'm saying is we need, in my opinion, we need something that we can hand to people that don't care about what operating system they're using or how the package manager installs the software. All they care about is getting stuff done with their computer.
Well, that's easy on Linux, Rocco, isn't it? Just get Linux to work with a wide array of printers and you're pretty much home, dude. I'm just saying.
Well, there is another thing we should be aware of. That nowadays, people will just dropped Linux into their lap without even ever caring about it or even asking for it, because now that Dell widely ships Ubuntu and other distributions with their laptops, same with Lenovo, companies might buy them. That means that the workers, those who work in offices, they will just get handed a laptop, and that laptop will have Linux on it. That's the market we should start catering to, not people whose people install Linux on their system. Not even those that choose to run Linux. We must cater to those that come from enterprise users. Those should be our target, because that's what most Linux users will present in the next few years.
Yeah, and I agree. And don't forget, how many of you guys here in this room right now have done a Linux from scratch build?
You mean Arch, or you mean an actual Linux from scratch? Like,
no, Linux from scratch, LFS.
No.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I
The reason I say that is because if most people in this room did a Linux from scratch build, I'm guessing they probably fall over right at the install part. That's probably how most normies view Ubuntu, because they don't know what to do with it.
I'd be back on Windows if I had
That's
to
it.
use
We need
Linux
to
from
we need
scratch.
to be able to hand them. We need to be able to hand them a laptop,
some at their level,
and just go and say, and they open it up, and it just, we have desktop environments that mimic the typical user interface. There's a little button, you click it, there's programs, there's your browser. We need something they can do and go get apps and Computer Kid your hands up.
But as everybody has already stated many times, don't we already have that? It's called
We've
Chrome
had that
OS.
for years, though.
We do, but it's locked, and we don't. I don't think we want Chrome OS.
Google,
I don't think we want Chrome OS to represent us.
But can you imagine a Chromebook with Ubuntu on it? Oh,
where's Shickle when you need him? Cool. We're talking about Chrome OS. We need Shickle.
Fantastic.
Computer Kid, what you got? Your hands up. You're the only respectful one in here. We're all rude.
So, I asked this question a couple biddles ago in the post show where there was only like 4 people here. So I thought I'd pose it to the whole group. So we always talk about why how we need to get Linux to the masses. But why do we really want that? Like, I just want to know, what's the gain? What the answers I've heard so far is that it gets more people to develop it, and because we feel like we're freeing them from some burden, which a lot of times we aren't. And more developers is kind of just a selfish thing, even if I do understand it.
Well, there is a simple thing: applications. Because once we have market share, we will be a much bigger target for those big companies that make software to develop for us, and we will be their target audience then. Now we're just something that goes by them, and they just don't care because we are nothing for them. Nothing, absolutely nothing.
But
I
the
would
big
say that
issue with
falls
that
under the
is,
developers category too. It's just
But
we
I
want more
think-
people to develop for us.
yeah, but the big issue with getting the big developers into the forum is, I know, like getting, let's say, a Microsoft, DirectX, all that good stuff. This stuff is the only time that's going to be beneficial to the Linux community is if they actually develop it and leave it as open source. A lot of these big companies, they're out there. They're out there for the big bucks. So they're going to come in. They're going to try to sell this. It's not going to be free open source. You're going to have to still have to buy it. It's just going to be developed for Linux. So
yeah, but
that
still
might be one little problem.
Well, I'm happy to pay
mean,
for software.
Yeah.
Hi
Like, I
guys,
don't use
we're on
Linux.
Zoom here.
Yeah, I don't
So
use
Yeah.
Linux
do we
'cause it's
care?
free. I use it because it's
No.
I like it.
Some people do. Some people do care about the whole Linux is free and open source thing. That's the whole
so
now
raw
you get
Linux.
in
I
they don't have to buy
prefer it,
Microsoft
but-
software. They can continue to get the bunk little applet that pops up that breaks half the time, because the guy hasn't updated it.
False audio.
That's fine. But at least we all can make that choice. That's a moral choice for ourselves.
But I think you're getting very close to the crux of the matter now. Why do we want Linux for the masses? Because we are sick of Apple and Microsoft making trillions of dollars off our data.
So you're saying it's a security thing, is you want other people to have their security in the same way we do?
It's nothing to do with security. What I want is people to have the right to say, I want to use this operating system without the operating system manufacturer knowing every dotted I, every crossed T bit of data about me.
But I think that's why we need to keep it with the apps and not the distribution. So you have the distributions that are taking care of the privacy end, or maybe some of them are, okay? But then it comes down to a personal level of which apps you choose. So if we have, say in a perfect world, we get more companies to develop on Linux and we get more software. Some of it's going to be proprietary, some of it's not. But that's the user's choice to use that software or not, and to look at the trade-offs of the privacy. Hey, they're going to take this data. It won't be the operating system taking the data. It'll be the apps that you choose.
Correct.
Tony, you've had your hand
Now
up
we
quite a
don't
bit.
have a choice.
Tony?
So it's just to get
Yeah.
market share.
I think there's two issues. We talked about this on Mintcast last week about when will Microsoft decide to move over to the Linux kernel? Because if they do, and they've already started incorporating more and more Linux into Windows
I
10.
can answer that, Tony. Sorry to interrupt you. 2 seconds. 2025, mate.
No,
Exactly 2025.
No.
Because if Microsoft do decide to go over to the Linux kernel, then we've already cracked that, because everyone will have to be writing software that works on the Linux kernel. So then all the things that we were just talking about as far as data privacy and all that will be down to, like Rocco said about the applications we use. It's no good installing Chrome browser and then expecting Google not to spy on us.
Correct. That's a user's choice there.
Yeah.
Whether they want to do that, it shouldn't come from the operating system, and I think that's why we need something to compete with Chrome OS.
Yeah, I
Because
totally agree.
It's
Couldn't
no
agree
choice
more.
there.
And this is the angle that I was coming from. If you're running Ubuntu Linux as an operating system and you choose to download and install Microsoft Visual Studio Code, then you're accepting the fact that VS Code as an app is going to lift as much data off your PC as it can, right? What you don't have with Microsoft Windows is that option, because Windows performs that function anyway.
Right.
Well, you do have choice when you install Windows. It is all written in the EULA, just nobody reads it.
Yeah, but the
That's
choice is not a
problem.
choice. The choice is either don't use it or use it. That's not
Yeah,
really a
but-
choice.
But same with code. At the end of it, do we really trust anyone? We must hear this question: who do you trust?
That's a personal level. Like everybody has
Because-
their own level of that.
Because can I trust? I don't know. Mata developers, they aren't in their redistributable code. We don't actually see, because they compile it. Who knows what they actually compile? Is there actually any telemetry in there, or any tracking there? So that's the trust issue. Same with operating system. Same with Windows. How much
Yeah.
you trust them?
And then
Because-
it's very difficult, Big Pod, because I'm 57, I'm a dinosaur. I want to choose what data goes where and who gets it. My 23-year-old son doesn't care. He wants Amazon to know what is in his DNA strand. So when he orders something, it's here 20 minutes later to the right person at the right place. So it's really horses for courses, isn't it? It's difficult.
Eris, you had a point you made earlier in chat, and I know I know you gave up on the hand because hands aren't valuable today. But if you could go move forward with your thought.
Oh, I just said that I really didn't like that people were being pushed to rolling release distros. They can eventually get there if they want, but I wouldn't recommend them to start from the beginning, just because everything's moving. More moving parts usually ends in some kind of glitch or something. And I think if you start out something new and you're hesitant to begin with, and then something goes wrong, you just have a bad taste in your mouth, and you're probably gonna go, well, that's it. I'm just going back to whatever I was using before.
But
Like, I understand why you do it too. I mean, if you're using AMD, part of the problem is you're not gonna get a new kernel in a release distro like Ubuntu or Debian, and there's probably like an issue, maybe a technical issue. Maybe there should be a way to have the ability to upgrade your graphics driver if you're using AMD, the same way you can do that with NVIDIA, and it shouldn't be based on what kind of kernel you have.
Yeah, but I think that goes back to what Esnix asked, and that was, why do we need this? We need this. We need something we can hand to people because there are so many people out there who don't care that you would be, if we had it, we could hand it to them, which would then in turn gain more users, which would then in turn gain more developer companies developing for Linux. And maybe at some point with that snowball rolling, we could get to a point where companies are actually making a Linux side of their app along with their Windows side. Now, you may not use all of those apps, but there are a ton of people who will. And I think the whole idea is to get it started so that, because it's a snowball effect. You go to the developers and you say, why don't we have Linux apps? Well, you don't have enough market share. Well, why don't we have market share? Because we don't have enough Linux apps. And it's just this whole cycle. So if we start it, if we get behind something and say, here's what we want to do. We want to have a distro that we say, this is Linux for the first time user. This is Linux for the beginner. Now you have a whole world of opportunities after you get into Linux. And if you want it, it's there and open to you. You never want to take away that choice. But to have that first, here it is, will go a long way in the eventual, or let's hope the eventual process of getting more apps and then more people on Linux. Just saying.
And right now, Google is the one that has that. They're the ones that are handing it, and that's scary as it gets. They're the one that's like, here, young child. My kids at school, they're like, oh, you're gonna have school from home? Here's our operating system.
I think any
they at least have
standard.
something.
What's that, Isnix?
I think any standard will become a de facto standard, and it will just be another Chrome. And there'll be people complaining of the evil of that standard bearer.
You're right. Well, they will. That's the whole point. That's what we need to stop.
Well, no, that's what you just called for. Is you called for an example Linux to hand to someone, a new user, that will become a de facto standard in the industry, and it will be immediately evil to most of the old-time Linux users.
Yeah.
But that's what we need to
Because of
stop.
that.
But we've got to move past the old time
But
Linux.
it won't stop. It won't. That won't stop.
We
So,
need
as
to
next-
change people's thinking.
Yes, that's right, Big Pod. We need to change people's
mind.
thinking.
We need to
People's
change people's thinking.
mind,
So
we need to
we
change
think
that.
Windows
Which is
That's
happening
basically what I'm
right
hearing.
now, people, with COVID. It's
You-
happening.
But see, Esnix, you don't need to change people's thinking to your side of it. I don't want to change anybody's thinking. If they want this Linux version and they hate standards and they don't want anything but open source software, I don't want to change that. I just want to change their reaction to a standard.
Right.
To not
stop hating it,
to stop pushing out all of this hate towards it. You can like whatever you want to like, and you don't have to like what I like. You can, whatever. That's the beauty of Linux. Just
People
stop
hate standard,
throwing
but
out
standard.
all of the hate towards the standard. Look at Canonical. They get hate on top of hate on top of hate, no matter what they do. That's because of who they are. Now, you don't have to like them. You don't have to like their choices, but to throw out all of this hate because it's Canonical, it wouldn't matter if they did this or this. Complete opposite. Everybody would hate them regardless because it's who they are.
Yep.
And it shouldn't be that way.
No, but Rocco, you've got a
get that.
fantastic show here with a great bunch of people, and yet you're still getting human beings allegedly in the chat posting garbage.
Okay.
What you gonna do? Dude?
Is there
What are you
something
gonna
I
do?
need to moderate? I mean, I don't know.
No, it's already been dealt with
Okay.
for you. But all I'm saying is, I think we should just enjoy what we've got, because I think both sides of the argument are valid. I understand where the purists come from, and I understand where you're coming from. And I don't think either is right or wrong. I think we just have to learn to live with both.
But Linux can cater to everybody. There just need to be some de facto standards with which we can hit the new users, the enterprise users, those who are coming to Linux because they have to come to Linux because, well, their corporate environment is giving them their laptop. We need something for those people.
Jill, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm enjoying the discussion. And I think honestly, it's kind of simple. You take any operating system, whether it be Ubuntu or, Arch, and all you got to do is stick the icons that people are used to using on it. And it kind of solves the problem. Honestly, 'cause, what's happening is a lot of people today are used to using different user interfaces on their mobile, on their tablet, on the, laptops at home. And the big thing is there's the Firefox icon, there's the Chrome icon, there's Skype, there's Teams, and LibreOffice can replace Windows Office. And I think, as if, those laptops that Lenovo is selling with Ubuntu were in the Best Buys, were, in the major stores, that could change, because all of a sudden, someone looks at the screen like, oh, I know these applications.
Yeah.
Tony?
That's it. It's
To me, that's
familiarity,
kind of
right?
the easy way to.
Yeah, Tony.
Yeah. Two things I was going to say is what Jill's just said. Whenever I've set up a laptop with Linux on it for someone who's asked me to fix their laptop, and it was no longer feasible to put Windows on it, and I've asked them what they do with the computer, and sussed out they can do all that in Linux. I then suggest putting Linux Mint on it, and I do exactly what Jill said. I put icons on the desktop for all the regular software they use, very clearly labeled, internet, word processor, whatever. They go away, and I very rarely hear anything from them again. But the other thing I was going to say is, yeah, I've gone blank now. What Rocco was saying earlier on, no, it's gone. It's gone.
Well, if I may just jump in very
in
quickly
the
because I have to
conversation.
go now. I'd just like to say a massive thanks as always to Rocco for doing a terrific job in an impossible situation. I'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you. Don't ever lose the verve that you have for your Linux because it helps so many people in so many ways. It's fantastic. And last but not least, Rocco, if you do not permanently ban Ferran OS from this show for renaming me power user, there's going to be World War IV. Much love, everybody. Thank you, Rocco.
EB,
Take
thanks
care.
for showing up, brother.
EB.
It's always a
We
pleasure.
love you, AB.
Yeah.
See you, EB.
I've remembered what I was going to say now. For those of us who've been in the Linux world only in the last 15 years, how many of us started off with Ubuntu? Because I know I did.
That was the first thing
Doesn't
I.
matter what we run now.
Most people
Ubuntu.
have. Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
Jill's been in since God was a lad, so not counted.
Slackware.
But so all the hate against Canonical, you know, Canonical has made Linux a usable system for a lot of people. Whatever we're running now, whether we're running Arch or whatever, a lot of us got into Linux because of Canonical and the work they did to make Linux usable and installable by people who weren't as geeky as those that went before us. Because I know I didn't have a clue how to install Linux before Ubuntu started.
Tony, do you know how much hate I took for making a comment like that? Like, there was much hate for me because I made a comment that I don't know where we would be right now without Canonical. All of the time and effort of the money that they poured into development and everything else, I don't know where we would be. We would still be here. Like, Linux wouldn't have went away. We just would not be nowhere near as far off, as good off as we are. I don't know how you want to word that, but
yeah, they brought desktop
Well,
Linux to the
definitely.
masses. You know, they really
They
did.
made it usable for normies.
You wouldn't
I
have
mean,
Dell talking
techie
about
normies.
Linux. You wouldn't have Lenovo talking about Linux.
no, you wouldn't.
Yeah, they took choices that were kinda sometimes risky, but they paid off for normal users.
Yeah, it
You
was
probably
because they
wouldn't
did
think
have
that
the
threat.
because of the size of the company per se, and the fact that even if you do ask the normies out there, people that don't really follow Linux too much, but have heard of it, I bet you 9 out of 10 times the one distro that they do recognize is Ubuntu.
Yeah,
They might not recognize the name Canonical, but they will recognize that particular distro's name because it is more widespread, so to speak, than most other distros. Even, I mean, when I was getting into Linux, I haven't been, a Linux user all that long, a year or so. And yep, when you type in, Linux into Google, one of the first things that pops up is Ubuntu. And it is just one of those things that they have the name recognition that gave them the boost. Then plus now with Lenovo's and Dell's and all that stuff that being offered on those devices, it does give them more of a boost. People are starting to hear more about Linux. Not necessarily going to draw them to it per se, but when they buy the new computer, they're going to be like, I don't know, I've always used Windows, and let's try this new thing, and let's try getting installed with this. And then, when they get it, whether they like it or not, that's, a different story. But it is definitely, I agree with Rocco. I mean, Canonical has done so much just to give that name recognition, just the word Linux out to a wider variety of people than,
And not just
than
people,
we can.
companies.
Yeah, companies, people. Now that they're going to be on Dells, now that they're going to be on Lenovo's, it might even be further. More companies like Microsoft and all that stuff are taking interest, and they're going to get the different developers.
Computer Kid, go ahead. You got your hand up.
Oh, come on. I did it, Tony. What was I going to say?
It's okay, dude.
Well, that's okay.
Oh, computer kid,
If
you're
you
too
if you
young for
think
that
of it,
to
you come
You
back
don't
to
get to
it.
do that for at least 20 years.
Well, the problem is I think of like a topic, and then you guys go on all these
On a
other
different-
topics, and they're
Yeah.
like all running through my head. I remembered it now.
What do
So
you mean, you guys?
Go for it. Go for it. Go for it. Do it.
So, somebody mentioned something about Android, and that reminded me of a thought I had, or a thing I read a couple of weeks ago about how if we're trying to bring the masses to Linux, what do the masses use? They don't use laptops. They use phones and tablets. So there was I think there was some desktop environment that got an update that looked very Android Chrome OS-esque. And they made an interesting point about how if we want to have a UI that people are familiar with, I mean, maybe for some people it is a Windows UI, and maybe for some people it's a Mac OS UI. But for the majority of people, their most used computer is going to have an Android or an iOS UI.
Yeah.
So maybe if we want to be trying to sell everybody on this, maybe we should do something like the Mate, what is it? The Mate
Tweak.
The
thingy
switcher.
where you
Yeah,
can
desktop
choose
switcher.
The Mate
Yeah.
tweak.
yeah, that.
Yeah.
Where you've got like Unity and Windows and Mac OS. Maybe it should be Android iOS.
Yeah.
Where you can
That's,
get
that's a fair point.
where
Yeah.
you'll have like your bar at the bottom, and you can like put apps on your home screen, and you pop it up, and then you've got all your apps in a little thingy, and then you got your notifications that come out from the side, and just that kind of feel that people are used to.
You click the layout that you want and go, right? Big Pod, you want to jump in.
Oh,
go ahead.
Well, I want to go a bit back when Tony said about people coming to Linux. I actually had a big case of people in my class. Everyone is somewhat techie. They are all IT students. But even when we were doing just the normal Ubuntu with UI, no terminal, after just an error or two, they were like automatic, because we were actually installing packages. So GNOME Software Center was a thing. And soon after the first thing failed, they had to go to terminal, and that was already a turn off. So if we want to get users, we first need to get rid of that pesky thing called terminal, because that's where most normal users just go. What?
But I don't
No,
think we need
want
to get
that.
anybody off of anything. I think we just need to be able to offer them
We need to
whatever they
offer them
need.
experience that can be totally used without ever having terminal installed.
Right. Absolutely. I'm not saying, what I'm saying is I don't think we need to get users off.
That's what I want. No, we not users off. We need to make an experience that will absolutely work without any problem.
Yes,
without
I agree.
Actual usage of terminal. On Windows, terminal is totally useless. But
well, I don't know if it's useless, but it's not useless.
I use
Yeah.
it quite often in
For-
troubleshooting.
I use it, but
run the operating
in
system.
99% of the time, you don't need to use it, or you won't even want to use it.
Right. For normal
Because
users,
the
nobody's going to pop
GUI
open the
is
terminal.
that
Power
great.
users.
Because GUI is that great.
We lost our power.
That's
users.
what
Where's
we
ED?
need to do. That's what we need to do. That experience, which will get us without terminal to the point we need.
We
And
should just stop
we don't
shipping
have-
GUIs in the first place. Plunge them straight into the terminal. Get
No,
all
no, no,
Android users.
no.
You
We're
want
trying
a
to get
terminal- or
users to
you
come
want a
in here,
GUI,
not
you
go
can
away.
start X.
Computer
Jill,
Kid,
can I
you
ask
said
you a
something
question?
really interesting about Android and iOS, and I think we could take this conversation to that place real quick. So I'm going to do a IMO. So in my opinion, and I would love to hear what everybody says. Maybe I should throw an H in there. But so the reason I think iOS or Android is the number one where people are computing these days had nothing to do with iOS or Android. It was because somebody put an amazing device in their hand and it did the thing. And we don't have an amazing device to put in the hand to do the thing right now. I know there's people working on it, but that, you know, making a desktop environment into iOS, probably not.
No.
Or Android, a great experience for someone using a keyboard and mouse and not a touchscreen, unless you had a touchscreen laptop. But no, the only people making those devices are the companies that make those pieces of software.
Yeah.
So what's our answer? You know, so I like what you said there. I think you're right. That's the direction, or could be the direction. But what do we, you know?
But we've
what should be
already
done?
been down that road and weren't able to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if
that's
that's
because we create the experience. That's what they created.
But what I'm saying
an
is,
experience.
if Canonical, with the amount of money that they put into it and the amount of effort that they put into it, was a colossal effort, and they couldn't do it, how is anybody else going to do it? I don't.
We
think,
need to port snaps to Chrome OS.
I don't think that's I don't think that's an option. I think we need to continue what. Again, and I know that people don't want to hear this, but I seriously think we need to continue with the effort to have that distribution so that we can start that process of getting more apps on. Because, okay, there's going to be a limited number of people that even want to use a desktop anyway, or a laptop. A lot of people want to use their phone and their tablet, but I don't think that's the right... I don't think we'll be successful in that, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I definitely agree with, you know, as far as the iOS and Android thing goes, try to burst or develop into that market share right now is not going to really work, because there is way too much. Android / Google and Apple both hold too much sway in that environment right now. To basically try to develop your own operating system, as far as or even bust out with your own new device, it's very, very difficult. I mean, Android, there's already 15,000 different devices that you can get, but there's only a certain few companies that are actually have the market share for Android. Like Samsung and even the actual Google devices themselves. I don't even know what they're called, but
Pixels.
Thank you, those things. And then you have Apple. When they did their release, I mean, it's Apple's Apple. There is no third-party vendor making Apple devices. It's Apple. They have their own ecosystem, with everything, and which I thought was really intelligent for them. And then, so trying to bust into the market with like the Pine phone and all that kind of stuff was not the right time. Something like this should have happened years and years and years ago, before people fell in love with Apple devices or fell in love with their Android devices, and it's just not going to happen. Now, it's the same thing, is kind of similar to what we're going on with the Ubuntu on laptops. People are going to look at that. A lot of people are going to be curious. Some people will be curious to see, okay, Ubuntu is new, let me try it out. But they know Windows and they know Mac OS. And they may be afraid to try something new because they're already comfortable with the other things. So unless one of these bigger companies like Microsoft or Apple or whoever really burst into the Linux field, getting that perfect distro, getting that distro that is going to gain the attention that we would like it to have, is going to be difficult, because a lot of people are tied to what they already know. These non-power users, or what do you want to call them, non-techies, normies, as Computer Kid call them, the average Joe, no offense, Joe.
Come on.
They are not going to go into the Linux environment and be like, oh, well, this one has everything I need, because Linux doesn't have everything we need yet, as far as programs go and that kind of thing.
So so one thing that's not great, and this is where I was going to go with that. There's only one company who's made a great tablet. Samsung, all these other guys, iOS is the only one that's touched the tablet market. There is nothing out there. I don't care what you do. I've tried them all. They're horrendous. And which is interesting, because Android has been, pretty successful on phones, but they just can't crack the tablet market. my children walk around with tablets in their face or their phone. That's their operating system. I mean, when they need to use a computer, they use a computer. But most people don't need to use a computer. Most people do not. Their computer is in their hand or in their pocket. But that interface is still something that works. And that's the, iOS again and Android, those two are very popular interfaces. But we realize that, right? But it was the devices that got them there. So I'm still curious, like, is there any movement anywhere? Because the PC usage is just, right?
It is. It's going down.
Desktop PC usage is just.
Yeah, you're going to find majority of the PC usage is going to be within, at right now in this time frame, it's going to be most 99.9%. I'll make it maybe 85, but whatever. It's going to be businesses. They're still going to be in the professional standpoint. It's going to be, where you're going to get your PCs and Mac use. Now, where Mac, aka Apple, has been genius, is they're not just in the desktop group.
Right.
Like you said, they have the best tablet. They have one of the best phones out there. They have some of the best ecosystem as far as apps goes and all that kind of stuff. They have those apps that, I remember back in the day, Apple was like Linux, you couldn't find Microsoft apps on their stuff, things like that nature. Nowadays, their ecosystem has grown so much because they have grown in popularity. A lot of it was due to obviously the iPhone and iPad. That's why they grew so well. But with the iPad, what was it called? The iPad Pro. I mean, you get that little keyboard case thing going there on that thing. You can hook up a Bluetooth keyboard to it. You can get the pencil. So your graphic artists are all set. Programmers are all set. I mean, you can use the iPad Pro as your daily driver for almost everything now. It's got the power, the memory, the battery life, the quality, whatever.
You can pair your MX keys with it.
Exactly. Yep. They have a Mac version. They have a PC version. But my point is that with as far as that goes, like you were saying, the PC market has gone downhill. The only reason the PC market is even really developing, further processors and stuff, now is because of the gamers. There are a key group, like if you look at Twitch, you're not going to see too many people out there playing on a mobile device or a iPad. That happens. There are some streamers that do that, but most of it is done on PCs. But still, yeah, getting into that market now, there's nobody that's been able to touch Apple when it's come to the pads and that kind of stuff. Even, I mean, Android is there with the phones, but they have like 50,000 different companies building for them. That's the only reason they can compete with Apple. If it was just Samsung and Apple, I bet you Apple would win.
Eris, what are your thoughts on this?
I was gonna say that it was this very sad day when Ubuntu's phone didn't make it, because I thought that would have been a big proponent for the Linux to have something different. To have, we're always trying to say, like, you come to Linux, you can use the same things, you can use your browser, and then it's a kind of a hard proposition, because they say, well, I already do that with Windows, I already do that with Mac. There are differences, of course, with privacy and other things, but they're harder to see. But if you had a phone back at that time, especially, that you could have with you, use it on the go, and then come back to your monitor and connect it, you would really give somebody something else, and that would hopefully propel the market to a point where more interest would come to Linux, and then maybe we would have taken off from there.
Yeah. Point missed. Big Pod.
Well, we need to think about how Apple with their iOS phones and how Android phones did make the market, because there were touchscreen devices before that. Well, they were Palm Pilots and they were subjectively crap.
LG chocolate. Come on, right?
Compared to what we have now.
One little LCD, you could just touch one button.
Yeah. What we have now, they're objectively crap. But what they did, they created an experience around it. They created from what was a pretty crappy device, they created an experience. So in my opinion, we need a new form factor with which we can create an experience around, and then we can actually be selected as a main choice, because we will be the one that will make the experience. And maybe tablets are technology around which we should center, because Android flopped. Maybe we should create the experience that will trump iPads. And that is what,
with them. It's going to be hard
or
to
at least
trump anybody
compete,
these
at least
days,
compete,
but at
at least
least
compete.
be an option.
Yeah, that's
Tony?
Technology-wise, though, we're going back to the situation where we were in the 80s, when there was so many different platforms with so many different operating systems on them. That's what we're going through today. The platform is changing and the hardware is changing, and it's the hardware that becomes the most popular will win the operating system war, because the PC, like we've already said, is going down all the time, and it will become a niche market for those of us that have power usage for it, or for in industry where they need to use it, or in offices. But even that is starting to go away, because more and more the computer in your pocket, your mobile phone, is getting so powerful. If you can plug that into a dock and plug it into a screen and do everything on that, you won't even need another device, because when you walk into the office, you just plug your company mobile phone into your dock on your desk and carry on doing the work.
Yeah.
So that will determine what the OS is going to become used in the next 10 or 15 years time as well.
Well, I think the desktop is going down in usage. I do think that there's a couple points to be made about maybe something that is keeping it there. Part of that, I think, is the amount of computers people use at work, which is, declining, because people are, starting to use tablets. Companies are starting to use tablets more and more. And there's a lot of that. But I think the majority of companies are still using desktops. So it's still familiar to people. So if you ask people, younger people, about computers, desktops, they probably wouldn't know what you're talking about, because they're brought up to use tablets or phones. But people in the industry, in work, and any kind of, basically any field, you're going to need computers. And I think that will ultimately help us to have the decline go not so fast as far as the desktop is concerned. But either way, the desktop is declining. So I don't think you can get around that. But I mean, there's a lot of work being done with Ubuntu Touch, and we should be happy for all of that stuff, all of that effort that they're putting into it. How successful in the bigger picture for the broad market, I don't know. I don't know where that goes yet. So just my 2 cents. Anybody else want to jump in?
For a good Pine Tab Pro that it actually is a good OS. I mean, a good functioning hardware. I'm hopeful with stuff like the Pine Tab, something in that genre that is good, a good piece. And I hear it's a good piece of hardware. But as ARM kind of comes on and really develops more, who knows what form factor we'll see next. But Linux can't keep playing catch up in whatever that is, and that is some of the things we suffer at, I think, because we don't have I mean, you're going to say Canonical or Red Hat or somebody like that. We don't have somebody that's being Google or being Apple, going, here, this is what you want. This is right now, everybody in this room, regardless of our feelings about software, your mobile phone's probably not open. I mean, maybe some of you are rocking a Pine phone that is, but I'm sure you're not relying on it for business yet. It's just not there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not there yet. But look at where we're at. How far in are we into the phone market? Like
But it's just like the tablets you mentioned. We're not there yet.
Right.
But
look how newer market.
But look how far along we are even now. So it's exciting to see.
It is.
I just don't know if it will reach the broad market of people.
Right.
Yeah, I think Tony and Eris both nailed it. for one thing, Mark Shuttleworth with Convergence was way ahead of everyone else on that. And now we're trying to catch up, it's like if that had just taken hold then, things may be different right now.
Yeah.
But thankfully to UB ports, I run UB ports on my 1+1. And yeah, it's just it is a hard situation to solve.
And
It really is.
convergence is a hard thing. Like
Mhm.
Apple nailed it.
Apple's
did.
got some of it.
I
but
think they
it's
got a lot of
still
it, dude.
hard. Like I've got the whole gamut. I've got iPhones, iPads, AirPods, like whatever I've got them all, and it's still hard. Like the thing they've got good is that I've got my iPad, and if I open the Mac, it's like, oh, you're on the browser in the iPad. You want to go there again? Continuity, right? But convergence is a different thing, because still putting a keyboard on iOS is still iOS. So you are still it's not like it turns into macOS. It is still iOS with a keyboard. And it works, but it's still, they're still working, and they've got billions and billions to throw at it, and engineers, and it's hard. So I think the progress that's been made on a lot of the stuff in Linux, like the concepts are there, the brains are there.
Definitely.
It's just a lot to do. It's a lot to execute.
Oh, it is. I agree. And I was thinking also, actually, before Convergence, we had WebOS Synergy. That's what they called. And the Apple ecosystem is very similar to what WebOS was doing. So there's that.
Yeah, with another, on the same lines there is that what Joe was just saying is, the continuity and stuff, and the big companies throwing billions in that. A lot of these, kind of Canonical and stuff like that, they have probably some research and development. Obviously, they're a company, but they're not going to have the drive, I guess I want to say. I mean, they're looking into it and all that kind of stuff, but they don't really have the need and the want to start their own mobile platform. You know what I mean? It's kind of one of those things is where it's like, how do you break into this? Like I was saying before, how do you break into this market when the market is so it's a there's a demand is there for mobile. We're in a mobile market right now overall. Like everybody's saying, everybody wants an iPad, everyone wants some sort of mobile device, because everybody's on the go nowadays. Well, they were before COVID, and everything of that nature. And then to break into that with their own devices that meet the quality standards, that meet the hardware standards of them, and but still be competitive with the price. As a new company, that is where, as a new company in that market, so to speak, is where the difficulty comes in, because like PinePhone and those type of devices, they didn't have the top-notch latest ARM processors and the highest amount of memory, the best battery, blah 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 blah, screens and all that stuff, because they're testing the waters. If they had blown up, then they would have probably had more research and development, more money to put into getting better stuff.
All right, Robin, close us out, brother.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm obviously conscious of time here, but I had an experience a few weeks ago where I just by coincidence thought, what would happen if I plugged my USB-C mobile phone Android device into a HDMI connection? So I plugged it in and I put it onto my monitor, and I was quite surprised at how quickly my phone switched from a phone into a actual computer that I could actually use as a computer. So I hadn't realized that even though it's not a Samsung device where it's using, was it DAX or DeX, whatever they call it, I was actually quite surprised at how quickly my phone turned into, I suppose, Chrome OS at the end of the day. So I was actually then started playing around with it, and I thought, what would it be like to open up a browser and start actually using it as a portable computer in that case? Yeah, it was a bit touch and go, because obviously I had to get used to a complete new UI, etc. But I was actually quite surprised for the hour or so that I had it plugged in that I could do all the tasks that I could do on my computer. And all I had to really do was do it all in a browser. And I could fire up some apps as well and start using apps. But I've got to bring obviously back to what Joe was saying about putting devices in front of people to be able to obviously show them what Linux is like. I would probably say if you're going to do that, don't show them Ubuntu. I would try to say show them something that they're going to feel comfortable using. And that's why for the newbies, I would recommend Linux Mint, for example, or even Zorin now. For example, a few weeks ago, I showed one of my colleagues at work when I was in the office. I quickly showed them on the big screen what Zorin looked like. And they were like, oh, what's this? I like this. And I started looking around and seeing all the icons and everything else. And I said, well, okay, you're starting to enjoy this. What sort of thing do you do on your computer? Oh, I do Facebook and Twitter and everything else. I thought, that's browser-based. So you stick any device in front of them that's got a browser, they're laughing, basically. But I've got to probably just say before... while it's on my mind is that obviously if you're thinking about upgrading to the latest iPads and stuff like that, then just think about its whether it's future proof, because the new iPads with the bigger screens and they come with keyboards and stuff like that, yeah, that's great, but you still have to invest lots and lots of money into that. So if you want to be able to get the latest iPad, you think, yeah, that's great for like 400 or 500 quid or whatever, I'll get that. But then you start thinking about, oh, I need to do this and I need to do that, and then you start tallying up the how much the accessories will cost. So yeah, but I mean, I would probably just think about carefully the sort of tasks that you're going to be needing to do, and make sure that you get the right device and the right distro that's right for you. And I'm starting to now settle down a little bit with all of the distros that I've been trying out. I slowly now think I'm really coming down to the one distro that I know will stay on my machine for more than a week.
All right. Of course, Alan Pope, he joins right at the very end. Come on, dude.
Just in time delivery.
Sorry.
He is
No,
like,
it's okay. We just missed you, dude. Missed you for
What's
a
the matter?
couple
You only
months
just
now.
got you only just got the YouTube notification.
No, it was Robin. You were telling people not to recommend Ubuntu, and that just set off,
He was listening quietly, wasn't he?
He was in the park and he heard it from the park.
Right.
Yeah,
He heard
I
you.
ran in here, and yeah.
So before we go, Alan, what's been up lately, dude? Anything?
Oh, life.
Life. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sorry, but it's time to close it out, and everybody gets the last word. Joe?
Great time. Glad to visit. I hope I can get back more often, guys. This life's busy. Please listen to Linux User Space. We love it. We have a good time.
Please,
we
please,
enjoy
we're
making
begging
it.
you.
I'm begging. No, I'm not. I am begging. No. Come join us over there. We have a good time. We have a blast making that show. I haven't laughed this much in a long time, and it's amazing we actually have something to put out each week. But Rocco does some magic with some editing.
If you could listen to the whole show, you'd be laughing nonstop. All right, Dan.
That's it.
Last word, brother.
Oh, thanks, Rocco. And thanks for everybody for being here. Good show. And yeah, hope to see everyone on the next BDLL Europe, and hope to see some of you on the next BDLL this evening.
Jill, last word.
Yay. Well, thank you, Rocco, Dan, and Joe for hosting BDLL Europe. This is awesome. And I'm so happy I get to come at least once a month. And I'm loving Linux User Space. It's a wonderful show.
Right,
I'm loving the great conversation.
That's 3 out of 3. Let's see how far we can go.
But I guess also you can watch my show, Linux Weekly Daily Wednesday.
There you
Also,
go.
excellent show. Yeah.
Yep. Also, excellent show.
Aw.
Thank you for being here, Jill.
Okay, love you guys.
Eris, last word.
Thank you very much for the stream, everybody who makes it possible. And about Linux User Space, you can add 2 more to the tally. I'll just say that.
Nice. I love it. Big Pod, last word.
Great show. See you in a couple of hours.
Computer Kid, last word.
Thank you, everybody. It was very fun to be here. Very good discussion. And I'm glad that we could have our never-ending discussion of how we're going to make the normies come to Linux.
It is a never-ending discussion.
Very
It
true.
is. All right, Tony. I know this is a good time for you to be up, but you'll be here later, won't you?
Yes.
Okay, good.
It's installed. Oh no, sorry. Wrong expression.
wrong one.
Yeah, I'll be here later. Great show as always. Linux user space. I haven't actually listened to any of them yet. I just
Come on,
haven't seemed
Tony.
to-
I am
I haven't got
disappointed in
round
you.
to it. I prefer the videos where you can.
Teasing.
I prefer the videos where you can see the people and
Got a
get
point.
the
That's fair.
general sort of feel of it. But I will try and get around to listening to some because I'm sure it's good.
We
It
have a
stars
video.
This guy
Tony,
called Rocco, so you know.
Tony, we have a video. There's just no pictures in it at all. So
Yeah, that's
you
kind
can
of
get
boring.
it on YouTube. It's just a wave form. But if you want to watch that for an hour and however long,
For
No.
however long Joe talks. I mean,
well,
Yeah.
I will promise to try and listen to some. But anyway, I'll look forward to seeing the European edition in 4 weeks' time. And for those that only do the European edition, I hope you keep safe till then. And everybody else, I hope to see in a couple of hours.
all right, Jason, last word.
Well, thanks again, guys, for putting everybody that does all the work for this show and giving us the chance to have a place to have our discussions about those normies, as Computer Kid calls them. And it's just a great time having a great discussion about technology, Linux, Mac OS, all that good stuff that we're talking about today. And I shall see you guys later on tonight.
Asnix, last word.
Oh yeah. Okay. Thank you, Rocco. And I won't mention Linux user space.
There you go. Perfect. The Bearded Wonder, last word.
Yeah, thank you, Rocco. Thanks for putting this on as usual at a sensible time in Europe. As far as Linux user space goes, check out the one with Stuart Langridge on, and then maybe we should have a conversation about what Stuart was talking about on that show.
We should.
It
Yeah.
generates an awful lot of discussion as far as how we can make Linux more popular. But yeah, it's been great to be here. Sorry I forgot and arrived 20 minutes late, but I'm glad I made it.
It's okay,
Yeah.
man. Good to have you. Robin, last word.
Yeah, thanks as always, Rocco, and great to see you all again this time around this month. And I would just say that we're having a great fun testing lots of betas this week. And Alan, I'm going through your flavors tomorrow. But I have got one thing to say. I'm very mighty impressed by Groovy Gorilla. So good stuff there.
Very groovy.
Very groovy indeed. Although it did take a couple of updates before I saw the new wallpaper, but apart from that, I love it. It's very colourful, and I love the fact. I don't know if anybody's touched on this, but did you know that you can now change the theme of the default theme for Firefox? Did you spot that in Groovy Gorilla? No. I'll take a look at that if I were you. But besides that, Fedora 33 also launching in a couple of weeks. So apart from that, having great fun and keep playing and keep it up, guys, and loving the fun from you all.
MC, last word, brother.
Oh, it was great just having the discussion with everyone. Love being able to jump on and, whether you agree or disagree, having a civil discussion with everybody. And Rocco and Joe and Dan, great job in moderating and keeping everything flowing. And hopefully see everybody in 2.5 hours?
Right. Well, I want to make one point before we go any further than that. There's a lot of people there's people in chat. There's a lot of people that have said that, all kinds of different names that I won't mention on here about us. But I think that there has never been a time where I didn't want somebody to come in and disagree with us or disagree with me. I think that's what the discussion is all about. You don't have to agree with us, but let's talk about it anyway. Let's be civil about it. Let's stop throwing just normal hate out there and talk about the issues. So if you disagree with us, come on in. If you don't disagree with us, come on in anyway. So Alan, last word.
I disagree.
Okay, good. All right, that is going to wrap up another BDLL Europe edition. Thank you all for being here. I really do appreciate it. And we will be back in a few hours. Hopefully I won't be late this time to start the regular version of BDLL. Until then, long live Linux.
Yay. Good night.
Keep those
Take care.
See
penguins
you all.
marching.
Bye bye.